Good afternoon, everyone. Well, no need for further introduction, but just to correct something, introduce the university as St. Augustine. Just need to correct that so that you won't go to Google and type in St. Augustine and they're showing you St. Augustine in Kenya or in the Dominican Republic. It's Augustine University for worth of knowledge. I mean, you just need to have that. Augustine University is the name. You don't put Saint. There's no acronym like that as far as the NUC is concerned. So that is just to set the record straight. Yes, talking about admissions into Nigerian universities and universities abroad. I'm made to understand that, first of all, the line of speakers have those who will be doing justice to talking about going abroad for schooling. But while I'm just particular about schooling within the shores of Nigeria, talking about Nigerian universities, just to get that clear. If I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. And as I said, in the Nigerian universities, it is very simple. You need your O-levels and you need your JAMB. O-levels and JAMB. Your JAMB is, your O-level is the WAEC, and the Joint Admissions Matriculations Board in charge of examinations into universities. Now, the last policy meeting, there is something called a policy held in the NUC, JAMB, and universities in Nigeria. The last one was held in late May, and that is where they draw up policies on whether they should change the cutoff marks for the new academic session or retain the one for the previous academic year. So for the one for 2020-2021, talking about this year, we are now dovetailed into next year, but that is how sessions are stated or outlined in the university setting. The one for 2020-2021 that will commence in September by academic calendar, talking about university academic calendar. The policy meeting that was held in May agreed, that means JAMB and all universities in Nigeria, the proprietors of universities, the VC or the registrar, they all agreed that 160 is the benchmark for you to gain admission into any Nigerian university. 160. You must score 160 in your JAMB, 160 and above, for you to gain entry or admission into any Nigerian university. So you can't go below 160. That is what it means. So any candidate that writes his or her JAMB and has 159, 120, cannot, by that rule, not gain admission into any university. Now, universities reserve the right to either maintain that benchmark of 160 or increase theirs. That is how it works. You either maintain it at 160 as your minimum, or you go above that, but you can't go below 160. Now, I want to state clearly that some universities are even clamoring, especially for the private universities, some are clamoring for it to be brought below 160, some want 120, some even want as far as 100, but JAMB maintained. I mean, in democracy, majority carries the vote. So every participant at that policy meeting maintained and no, it should remain at 160, nothing below 160. For those who want to go into polytechnics, the cutoff for you to gain admission into any polytechnic in Nigeria is 120. For those who are planning on attending colleges of education, the cutoff point agreed is 100. So universities 160, polytechnics 120, colleges of education 100. That is the minimum mark for you to gain admission into any of this. That could be higher depending on the private university or the college of education, as it were. Now, we tend to understand that students get into some, when it comes to their subject combinations at O levels, talking about WAEC. And this is that point where we need to straighten that for worth of going forward so that they won't run into all those quagmires. Nigeria, as it were, we all are Nigerians, we know the Nigerian factor that sometimes government policies tend to always be in conflict with another. WAEC is an examination body. JAMB is another examination body. But there seems not to be this synergy expected, because you tend to find students or candidates in SS3 who wish to gain admission into a university, and they request their WAEC results in terms of their subject combinations. It is very important that your subject combinations tallies or go in line with whatever course you intend to study in a university. More or less, your WAEC is a pass. Your JAMB is just basically something like your entry, giving you the opportunity to just write that exam. But the main thing that determines whether you will get admission or not is your JAMB, is your WAEC, your SSCE. So you tend to find subject combinations that really are scary or even conflicting with the requirements for that course of study in a university. For example, students who wish to go for computer science in a university, and I'm going to give you an example using Augustine University benchmark. To study computer science in Augustine University, you will need, if you have A-levels, some write A-levels, you need to have 2 A-level passes in science subjects, including maths or NCA with at least a merit in mathematics, and 1 other social science subject. To gain admission into a university in Augustine University, you need 2 A-level passes in 2 science subjects, including mathematics, or NCA with at least a merit in mathematics, then any other social sciences. You find students who would combine, you want to study computer science, then they will combine, they call it, there's this new thing they do in secondary schools now. They say, it's either they say technical drawing or computer, there's a name they give to it, computer something. And whenever they come into the university and tender their WAEC results, you begin to find physics, chemistry, economics, geography, computer studies, maths, and you'll be like, where is the physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, further maths? They might even skip the whole chemistry or biology for fear, and they just put computers on something. Then you begin to ask, choose these subject combinations. How? They say that what their teacher told them, that was what their whatever told them going into the WAEC, because they have a problem. One will say because he or she has a problem in physics. So they told her, okay, in place of physics, you could choose history. In place of history, you could put in computer studies. That is compulsory now in secondary schools, that you must do something in computer before you before you graduate, and things like that. Meanwhile, in the WAEC combination, talking about what you need to get into a university: physics, chemistry, biology, maths, and English. 5, physics, chemistry, biology, maths, and English, for you to study computer science in a university. Already, you don't have physics, you have chemistry, you have biology, you have maths, you have English, but you don't have either physics. So you begin to say the computer studies or computer something will pass for it. Usually, they are advised to always go and rewrite WAEC, because JAMB will not allow that. JAMB will not allow that. At the end of admissions, they usually compile all these subjects. Each student has a file with the different subject combinations for admissions, and they are sent to JAMB in Abuja. Now, there is something called JAMB CAPS. CAPS is a portal where every candidate in Nigerian universities have their data, their subject combinations, everything. Their admission letters, everything is there on CAPS. Should their detail or a particular student's detail is sent to JAMB, and those subject combinations do not meet the standard of CAPS, they will not offer that student admission. That becomes a problem. So going forward, we want to reduce all these conflicts. We want to reduce the burden of going back and forth with our kids as they tend to continue their life in the university. It's always advisable and very important that principals of secondary schools and teachers alike in charge of these kids need to properly advise them. Career advice is very necessary at this point, especially SS2, SS3 class. Very, very, very important. You need to make them understand the subject combinations must be such as required and in line with the dictates of JAM. So they should be advised to go to JAM website and look at all these things before you advise students accordingly before they sit for this WAEC. As we're preparing to sit for WAEC now, thank God, schools should kindly please, especially in matter Ecclesia, for those in SS2 going to SS3, or if there's already SS3, they should probably be advised and guided. They should be advised and guided. That is about SSCE. Talking about the UTME is the University Tertiary Matriculation Examination. That is the exams you write that is conducted by JAM for you to gain admission into a university. For you to study computer science, you must have 5 O-level credit passes in your SSCE. And for the JAM, for the UTME subject, you must have maths, English, physics, and one of biology, chemistry, or Greek science, economics, and geography. Maths, English, physics, or biology or chemistry. And because of all this conflict, they're trying to say, okay, you could actually go with economics and geography to study computer science. To study computer science, that's in Augustine University, as advised and as suggested strongly by UTME, talking about JAM. So if you now find a candidate who didn't have, they will go and combine maths, English, then you see economics and accounting, and you say you want to study computer science, you can't. Despite the fact that you have a complete subject combination in your O levels, you can't. You must have those subjects, you must have those advice intact. In other words, students should kindly be advised accordingly on what subject combinations they need before writing any of these external examinations, because more often than not, most of them run into trouble once they are about to process their admissions. Abroad, their system could be different. We equally we take applications from students who are coming in from overseas. Some would have actually they would have been admitted into universities in Canada, in the US, in UK, and they want to transfer back home. The process isn't really difficult, basically. What they really simply do is they get all this, they get your transcript and the list of courses that they all have written prior to when they want to transfer them. And all that document, all that detail is sent to the university from whence it is taken to JAM. Those things must contain at least a bulk of some of these subjects. If they have them and they have the good grades, they get admission. That is how it works. So going forward, to gain admission in a Nigerian university, your JAM score, first of all, must be 160 and above. As of 2020, that is what it is. It could change by next year, but as of today, 160 and above. Augustine University didn't stick with 160. To get the admission into Augustine University, you need a cutoff of 180, a JAM score of 180. Some other universities have 200, some have 250, some have 190. Some A-list federal universities, talking about the old universities, UI, Nsukka, Ife, OAU, and the like, Unilag, they maintain theirs as 200. Some private universities, very few private universities have theirs at 200. Augustine University, for example, ours is 180 and above. So if you have 185, 190, 203, 300, you're welcome. If you have 179, 169, 160, you can't get admission into Augustine University. But remember I said that is the minimum, 160. But every individual university has that right to set their own cutoff benchmark, as it were, just to allow it. So it is what it is when it comes to general university education in Nigeria. We all just need to advise these kids accordingly. A lot of them run into troubles when they're coming in for admission because of their subject combinations from either WAEC or to study whatever course. So you find most of them, they will be offered admission, they will be told to go and write WAEC again, either GCE, usually they write GCE, for those subjects that they need to complete their subject combination. A couple of students ran into this quagmire here in Augustine University at some point. They had to go and write GCE. And it's risky because once somebody gains admission and you're telling that person that your admission is based or bound on how well you do in your GCE so that your subject combination is complete, you're not sure whether that person is going to pass or not. It's a risk. I mean, you put that student in a tight corner. The student is scared not to lose his or her admission, at the same time has to study extra hard in line with her university or his university studies just to gain those 1 or 2 subjects remaining to complete the subject combination. So I was told it's only 15 minutes and my time is almost up. I just want to reiterate, Mater Ecclesiae should kindly advise their graduating class properly. Their teachers should be advised accordingly before they begin to fill their WAEC forms. They should at least have this one-on-one with those students, what they intend to study in the university. You have those sessions with them. Once they tell you what they want, you advise them accordingly on the courses needed, on the subjects they need to have as their WAEC subjects for them to study in those universities. If you will allow me quickly to run down just for sake of knowledge. Now, the admission requirements for you to study English in a university, any university, for your O levels, talking about the SSC, you need 5 O-level credits, that's SSC, in English, maths, literature in English, and 2 other arts or social science subjects. For you to study English in any university, you need in your WAEC, English, maths, literature in English, and 2 other arts or social science subjects. In JAM, the subject combination for you to study English in the university for JAM, English, literature in English, and 2 other arts or social science subjects. So they could actually do literature in English, they could write, okay, yes, they could write computer, what they call it, social science. Yeah, they could use CRK or either CRK or what is the name of this subject? You could do philosophy. Yeah, that's another one. You could write CRK, philosophy, English, literature in English, and other art or social science. So if you have any of those in line, you're good to go. Maths is not compulsory to study English in any university. Maths isn't compulsory. It isn't compulsory for you to study in any university. Now, for those who wish to study economics in a university, you need maths, English, economics, and 2 other arts or social science subjects, as I've stated earlier. English, maths. Your combination for JAM must be English, maths, economics, and any of government, history, literature in English, French, and CRS or IRS. CRS, Christian Religious Studies. French. So you can see those are the arts or social science combinations that complement the core courses needed. Maths, English, quite compulsory, except if you want to study philosophy, you don't need maths. If you want to study Christian religious knowledge in any university, you might not necessarily need maths. But aside those 3 peculiar, every other one, maths and English are very important. For you to study accounting in any university, you need English, maths, economics, English, maths, economics, and any other social science or science combinations for you to study accounting in any university. For the JAM combination, you need English, maths, economics, and any other social science subjects. Maths, English, economics. So if you want to study economics, then you didn't put economics in your SWAEC subject and you went to be adding geography or some other things, you could run into a problem once admission time is on. To study business administration, you need your O levels, maths, English, economics, and any other 2. Maths, English, economics. Those are very important 3 key ones. Maths, English, economics to study business administration and any other 2 subjects. For JAM, the combination of subjects is English, maths, economics, and any other social science subject. Maths, English, economics. Banking and finance, you find English, maths, economics. For the JAM maths, English, one social science subject, and any other subject for you to study business administration. Physics, most of our students love sciences a lot, and that is where they run into the problem. For physics, to study physics in Augustine University, you have in your O levels, talking about WAEC, maths, English, chemistry, physics, maths, English, chemistry, physics, and any other science subject, probably biology, probably geography, but you need those. For the JAM combination, you need English, maths, physics, and one of biology, chemistry, Greek, economics, and geography, as I said earlier. You see, so if you have maths, English in your O levels to study physics, maths, English, physics, you could now add either geography, you could add English, or either geography, Greek, or economics. You could add that, but the core ones, maths, English, physics, chemistry, any of those, plus any other one in addition to it. To study chemistry, you need English, chemistry, physics, mathematics, and biology. To study chemistry in a university, your O levels must be English, chemistry, maths, biology, physics. For the JAM combination, equally, they are not different. English, chemistry, and any two of physics, mathematics, or biology. You need to have that. Remember that for SSC, it must be 5. For JAM, it must be 4. That is why you find you could now make a choice, whichever one you want. So getting all this clear, students should probably properly be advised and guided, especially when they're filling their WAEC forms. This makes it easy for them going forward as far as admission is concerned, not to run into any bottlenecks. Because equally, when they have all these wrong things, it's a problem for the university herself. It's a problem for the students. Psychologically, they become demoralized. But let us take away all these things. I think they are good to go. Most especially, we need to encourage them to have scores higher than the minimum benchmark. 200, 230, 250, 300, that is better than just wanting to stick with 160 as it were, because if you're sticking your goal on getting the minimum, you might not be sure where you will fall, whether you fall below. And that will mean waiting another year to write on the JAM. Now, for those who might not pass the JAM, as it were, not all of us have that luck with exams. The university body in Nigeria, JAM, created another easy way for you to gain admission if you don't have the required cutoff points in JAM. And that is what they call JUPEB, the Joint Universities Preparatory Examination Board. Joint Universities Preparatory Examination Board. That is the body called JUPEB. It is an exam, just like WAEC, just like SSC, just like JAM. It's another body, another exam created by JAM, recognized by the NUC. Once you don't have any candidate does not have the cutoff points to gain admission, that candidate is advised to apply for JUPEB. It's a one-year program, preparing the fellow for admission. You will come in, the courses the fellow ought to have written in JAM for that particular course is what the person will be prepared in. They are just 4. A teacher takes them for a whole 1 year, after which they are enrolled to write the JUPEB exam. Once they come out, it's just 3 grades. They need 3 grades. Out of 4 subjects, they need to pass only 3. Once they can get a distinction and credit in any of those 3, or even the 3 being credits by either a B, an A, or a C, or a CCC, or a BBB, or an AAA, they're good to go. They gain direct entry admission into any university. In other words, direct entry means they won't have to go to 100 level again. They just start their university education in full force in 200 level. Remember I said they did not get the cutoff point to get into 100 level ab initio. Now they enrolled for JUPEB. After the 1 year preparatory time for their JUPEB, they wrote the exams and they made it. They gained direct entry admission immediately to 200 level. to continue that course, which initially they wanted to study, but their JAMB score did not allow them to study. I believe we're following. So JUPEB is another leeway to get out of sitting at home for another 1 year if you don't have if you didn't pass your JAMB, as it were, for that particular year. Instead of you to sit at home, you can as well apply for JUPEB. But Augusta University offers JUPEB anyway, and we have candidates who are there. COVID-19, unfortunately, has actually held their exams down. They also have written their external exams, their JUPEB exams, in which any of them could now go for their direct entry admission into any university of their choice. And if you must know, once they write the JUPEB, that result can be used within and outside Nigeria. The JUPEB results, it's a certificate. They get it just the way they print out their results from WAEC or JAM. It can be used within or outside this country for admissions, the JUPEB, because it's recognized by JAM, recognized by the National Universities Commission, the NUC. So they are equally advised to always tinker with those. You tinker with it. You write the JUPEB exam, it's a 1-year preparatory program, after which you pass, you gain direct entry into 200 level to study the course anyone wish to study. So basically, that is the bottom line of admissions into any university in Nigeria. Admissions into any university in Nigeria. It's not rocket science, it's quite easy. You get the cutoff point to get admitted. If you don't have the cutoff point to write JUPEB, if you're transferring from another university, you simply just send your transcript to any university you want to go in, and you're good to go. Many reasons could affect your university education in this country. So you need to have all this information on ground that can help in decision making. More importantly, anytime you're making decisions for these children, always let them have their input. It's very, very key. We must let these kids have input into what they wish to study in a university. Sometimes we're too, carried away by, I am a doctor, I want my son, my daughter to, take after me. I want him or her to study medicine. And that child might not just be cool with any of those. The child might have something else in mind. So you always have to have this tete-a-tete with these kids so that going forward, they are in tune. They have your backing. There's no conflict of interest or opinion, as it were. Sometimes these things affect them in the university once they get into the system. So we want to mitigate as much as possible against these occurrences. And that is it, basically. Probably maybe if you have any further questions during the question and answer session, I will always do justice to that. I know I've spent more of my time, and I thank Father Njote for this rare opportunity to do this. And to all other listeners, thank you for your patience. And at the question and answer time, we'll always see to meet any other doubts or questions you might have. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nicholas Obayi. Thank you for that wonderful presentation. That was good. Thank you very much, sir. We hope that what you have shared with us this afternoon to guide our students to make the right choice in the nearest future as regards admission criteria in both local and international university. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you, sir. So very quickly, without wasting much of your time, I would introduce the second speaker of today's program. She's not a person than Mrs. Iyabo Atta. And Mrs. Iyabo Atta is the education advisor at Tabitha Noel Integrated Services. Now, she's a trained chemical engineer and holds a MSc degree in chemical engineering from the prestigious University of Lagos. She has about 2 decades of experience in oil and gas upstream and downstream industry. Ms. Iyabo is very passionate about working with the younger generation to advance their career growth. Now, she has placed a lot of young people, as youths, both from Nigeria, China, Canada, the UK, and US, into top schools abroad. So the voice you'll be hearing very shortly will be that of Ms. Iyabo. Ms. Iyabo, over to you. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Father. Good afternoon, parents. Good afternoon, all the invited guests. I feel I'm privileged to be here. I thank you for this time. I have a lot to say, so I'm just going to go straight to the point because the time allotted to this will not be enough, and I have so much to share. So I'm going to start off by saying that, number one, I'm happy that I'm working with the first set of students. So for me, they are raw, and it will be easy for me to mold them. I mean, that's for this advice that they are getting. The one they've got from Mr. Nicholas, they will also mold them. So this is a good opportunity for them to understand how they're going to chart the next phase of their lives. So number one, irrespective of wherever they are going to school in the world, whether it's Nigeria, whether it's America, whether it's the UK or the US, wherever, Australia, wherever they're going to do, it's important that they start the application process on time. What do I mean by on time? On time means that it should be like 12 to 18 months ahead of when the year that they're going to school. For example, my students who are going to school next year, for example, they started since Easter. So what did they do in Easter? What they were doing in Easter is, that's rubbing minds with their parents to know about their costs and some other things, and just input. So that's very important.
I give a short profile the other time.
Well, irrespective of where they're going to study also, they need their WAEC. WAEC is the king. WAEC is king. I didn't say IGCSE. They can have IGCSE as a backup, but you see WAEC is stronger than American high school diploma. WAEC is stronger. It is far above IGCSE. So their WAEC is very, very important. So they need to kill WAEC. That's why I call it killing WAEC. So that's very important. So number three, if I'm just talking to them now, so that means that most of them have not decided that they have not yet started the process for admission into the university. So I'm assuming that they're going to be doing the gap year. I'm an advocate of gap year. So my two sons, they were matured and ready. They had the best of admissions, but they still spent, the first one from Adesoye did 1 year and they went to MIT. The second one also still did 1 year after finishing from Loyola. He was the best student. He still did 1 year. We should not be in a hurry to push these children out. So I'm an advocate of gap year. So even that one did 1 year and also went to MIT. So when I talk about MIT, let me tell you where I'm going to. For every child, every Nigerian child can hit any school anywhere in the world. Any Nigerian child can. So what do they need to do that? That's what we're going to be discussing. I'm going to focus my attention that they see opportunities in their school, at home, in the environment that they belong to. Those are the things we're going to be talking about. So whether it's Canada or the US, and WAEC is important, then they need their WAEC. Almost all the countries, you need 5 credits in WAEC, including English and math. That's number 2. They need, whether they call it personal statement or essay, they need to be able to write. So they need to learn, whether it's typically science students usually have problems in English. So what they need to do is that as a school, we need to, as school and parents, we need to help them to overcome that fear. There's no big deal about English. First, if you have a strong aptitude in math or science, physics, which is applied to anything, you should be able to just take everything that comes your way as an academic exercise. So we should help them as a team to overcome their fear for English. So that's very important because they are going to be writing. Wherever they school, it's going to involve a lot of reading and writing and presentation. Even if they school in Nigeria, they are going to be making presentation if they run their company or work for others. So that's very important. So we're going to be talking about that. So they also need to be able to write. They need to take the entrance exams. If they're applying to UK schools don't have entrance exam. Rather, what they have is, if they're going to UK schools, they'll have to do 1 year of UFP or 2 years of A-levels or International Baccalaureate and Co. But if they're going to Canada, no, for UK, they will write the exam when they need to apply for their visa. So they will need their UK visa exam, which is like IELTS. So if they're going to Canada, they will need minimum of IELTS or TOEFL. So let me bring an insight into that. A lot of parents will say, oh, if my children are going to Canada, they don't need the SAT. No, if you intend for your children to hit the top schools in Canada, they must write SAT 1. In fact, University of Toronto will require our students to write subject SAT, which is the academic one that's the academic one that the top schools in US will normally request for. So that's general requirement now. So I'd like us to focus on America, which is what I want to talk about this one. And why am I focusing on America? The reason why I'm focusing on America is that there's a lot of money in America. So there's a lot of money. So how do we get that money? Let's talk about how do we get the money. So for every child, So in America, there's a school for every transcript and every budget. And I'm going to explain that. America has about 4,000 accredited degree granting institutions. Out of these 4,000, some are 4-year colleges and some are 2-year colleges. It does not matter which one you sign up for, because people have different fees. Whether you can sign up for 2 years college, and from the 2 years college, you can hit Harvard, you can hit MIT. Anything I talk about here, I'm talking from a real life situation. I'm not making up, I'm not guessing. A real life situation, I can give you data. A student can go to a no-name brand school in America, deep in some obscure place in America, and still go to Harvard. Nothing is cast in concrete for as long as the child has what it takes. What does it take? It's the profile. So as a team, the parents, the school, and all of us that make presentation, we need to work with them to help them to optimize their potential so that they have outstanding profiles. So out of these 4,000 schools, you have 2 years where they do 2 years of community college, and they move on from there. So you apply to universities, and you can apply to any universities, and they can get any university at the cost that they can afford. So we'll talk about cost later, because cost is the main thing that I want to talk about today. So then the other one is that, so they can do that. They can also just sign into a 4-year college where they start from the first year and they finish on the 4th year or 5th year. Sometimes they can do 5 years and they finish with 5 years. They can have a double major. They can have 2 degrees. They can finish with an MBA and BSc and an MBA, or BA and an MSc. There are so many options when it comes to school in America. So many options. So they can also look at different schools. They can choose to go to a religious school like their secondary school, or they can go to a non-religious school. They can go to a private school. They can go to a public school. There's no difference in terms of academic quality between private and public. There's none. There's none. The difference is that the private schools are private. So whether they are international students or they are from that state or from the outside that state, they are paying the same thing. So that's number. Then number 2, they can go to small school, big school, depending on their fees. They can go to just about, so the options are there. There are many. And they can design their major. For example, if I'm admitted into Harvard now, and I'm looking for somebody to teach me Igbo language, as a Nigerian, I refuse to study here. They will find me the best person anywhere in the world to come and teach me Igbo, and they will pay. So that is how sweet American education is. And it doesn't have to be Harvard. It can be just about any one of them. So it doesn't have to be Harvard. So what is important? Then I also like to know that the academic calendar for American school runs from about September, like 1st of September or late August, up until May, June of the following year. So that's the academic record. So what are the requirements? So let's talk about the requirements. Number 1 requirement for admission into an American school is that the student must be admissible to a university in his own country. Anytime I say that, student will say, what do you mean this attack? What I mean by that is you must write JAMB. You must write WAEC. You must have your WAEC result. For those who are going this year, who are resuming this fall, most of our students who have already left now because they're American citizens, they follow the evacuation flight. What they are going to is Loyola, and Loyola did for them, they call it estimated projected grades. So they've left already with projected grades. And the school, they're going to resume on campus. So that's how easy, how adaptable American can be when it comes to just about anything. So that is that. So what did they need? So they must write JAMB. They must write WAEC. And they must have 5 credits in WAEC, including English and math. So this is not about, oh, I'm going to America, I don't need to write JAMB. You must write JAMB. And one of the reasons why they should write JAMB is for uncertainty. There was a particular time there was Ebola. Now there is COVID-19, and the borders are shut. So if anything happens and borders are shut, how would they go to invest in Nigeria? So let them write JAMB, even if they're American citizens. My children, let them write JAMB. They must write JAMB. They must always take advantage. Any exam they sign up for, they must write them, and they must do outstanding in them. Very important. So what are the requirements? 6 years of secondary school. 6 years of secondary school, which is already what they are doing. They're required to have 6 years secondary school, not 5 years, not all the 5 years from the IGCSE. If a child goes to a school with 5-year secondary school, they will need to go and still do 1 year of education, either to go and do UFP, A-levels, whatever it is they want to, and some of those things they can do them in Nigeria. Even A-levels, there are good A-level schools in Nigeria. There are good IB schools in Nigeria. There are good everything. Even there are good universities in Nigeria. It's just a matter of we don't have enough universities in Nigeria. So what else? So what else do they need? They need to write subject. So what I want to, my recommend on, based on experience and recent happenings, is that the students who intend to study engineering, they must do further math.
We're sorry for that. I think she's struggling with network. I think she will join us shortly. So very quickly, we would like to introduce the third speaker. The third speaker, his name is Mr. Joel Daniel. Mr. Joel Daniel is a teacher, a mentor, and a coach. He's also the CEO of Solutions Platform and also a seasoned teacher. So the next voice will be here with that of Mr. Joel Daniel. Mr. Joel Daniel, over to you. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. Could you please make me a host, please? I would like to share a slide. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yes. I'm super excited to be here on this platform this very moment. And of course, I would not like to proceed until I have, registered my, my kind of, delightfulness to the principal. That's the father of MEC. That's Matter Ecclesiae, and also the teachers doing this wonderful work. I want to congratulate everybody. Okay, so I'm giving just 15 minutes to take you on a flight as much as possible, disseminate as much information as possible regarding international education. Thank you so much. Let me just share a. Okay, I also want to, say, a big, thank you to the previous speakers. That's the person of Mr. Nicholas and the former speaker for the, exposition and also their incomparable presentation. I would like to build on what they have already established as much as possible. Also, because I know we have parents in here, we have students. So let me tell you a little bit of background before I hit the ground running. I used to be a fond lover of mathematics. I love mathematics so much, and it consumed me. How will I say it? I studied chemical engineering. When I had a little profile about Tabitha, it also struck that semblance. I studied chemical engineering, but I was drawn towards mathematics, and I've always looking for a way to simplify complex concepts, to student learning. And that was where the journey began. It happens that along the line, in this, I discovered that studying abroad is not just about having fat pockets. As a matter of fact, the value add that parents stands to gain is that yes, what can study in international schools abroad, US, Canada, UK, and Germany at almost free cost. And I'm a proponent of that very means. I've always told people, even if you have money like Dangote, you have platform with which you can send your kids abroad without having to pay so much. A recent occurrence in year 2016, during that time that dollar was hitting the bar, a lot of parents have to withdraw or retract their words because of that happening. I was invited to Lagos State Television for a short interview on Lagos State Today, to address this issue. How a lot of parents were under pressure to pay school fees. Whereas you have platform with which you can send your kids abroad without having to pay from your nose or without breaking, the banks to pay. So this afternoon, I have aims in mind, and I'll just quickly run you through my slide. Things we've been doing over the years. One of the parents here, I'm not sure if she's here, I didn't actually check out. She told me about this meeting, this education fair that Meta, that's MEC, are having this forum to enlighten parents as well as students on board about getting admission into some of the Ivy League schools and also medium schools in the US that will be doing. She attended one of the symposium we had in about 2 years ago. That was where, she saw what we do. It was the parent who gave me this invitation. And I'm here to share to you that they are things that are achievable. And with me here, I have Clement Tuzoya, is also currently running its research program in Germany because I have been confined to talk about UK and Germany. So I have Clement, which is one of the technical team, currently running his research program in Germany, and is here in this room. During the Q&A session, he will also enlighten the house about things that Solution Platform can offer. Okay, so this is the aim. I would like to just go through to the aim. I'll tell you brief about SP, which I've just done already, about, it's something I was doing for passion, helping a lot of kids, a lot of students. I work with teenagers, and a good number of students have gone through me, and through Solution Platform, and they are in the US and Canada as I speak right now. There are facts and figures to back this up if there is any need. So the assignment here, I've already hit, so just tighten your seatbelt. I'm about to kick off. Just tighten your seatbelt. I have 15 minutes, and I'm just going to time myself. Once it's 15 minutes, and I will stop. So I'm here to illuminate the tracks. There are a lot of opportunities how students will get almost education on a platter in US, Canada, Germany, and UK. And I'm also a proponent of studying abroad, not necessarily a function of fat pocket. You don't need to go break banks because you want to send your school to your world to the best of schools in the world. I will show you how to do that in a bit. Yeah, so this is a little bit about us. In Solution Platform, we are known for our innovativeness, innovation. These are core values, empathy. So it simplifies to what I call, trust and work. There are core values there: empathy, reliability, competency. We are known for our work, innovation. How do we help parents? Parents in Nigeria, very strong parents, very supportive. They are trying so much to help kids. They want the best for their children. Is it now a crime to send them to get that international education, of which after they finish, it's going to be beneficial to Nigeria and to the world at large? When one person makes an invention, I saw of your kids earlier on where they were doing some practicals in physics lab and all that, out or make some invention, it's going to be beneficial to the whole world. Somebody make a discovery, it's going to be beneficial. So how do we work? How Solution Platform now devises a means. All the best brain we have is about best brain, just like Tabitha mentioned, it's about best brains. So we prepare students for exams. How would they go? In addition to their O-level, be it IGCSE, be it that's International General Certificate of Secondary Examination, or the WAEC, West Africa Examination Council results, or the result, the spreadsheet, we need the certificate. In addition to all of this, some of these schools, the top schools, in fact, even the medium schools in the US, UK, they find a recognized body to evaluate this result. And they engage bodies like WES, that's WES. WES is one of the members of NACES, National Agency for Credential Evaluation Services. They engage them to evaluate and calculate all the results in a form that is understandable by any institution in the world. So most of them would, tell you during we know when the case comes to us, we know schools that always request results to be evaluated by WES, World Evaluation Service. So that way, WES will create the account. then give the reference number to the student to take to WAEC. So WAEC will now mail their results straight off to West. So the whole process take, give or take within 1 month, it will be done. So once the result is evaluated, it's saved. And then from there, we can now request the result mailed to any schools we're doing. And we have a lot of schools we partner with in US, also in Germany that we're currently working, that we're doing, that we'll be talking on today. And Germany wouldn't request West, actually. It's for US schools and some schools in Canada. They would request that you send your result through West. They will help to authenticate results. So the exams, we know that for the child to be admitted into those schools in US, also some schools in UK, and also the schools in Germany, they request that they need to take exams. So also in Solution Platform, we prepare students for those exams, the likes of SAT, that's the Scholastic Achievement Test. We prepare them for the those for masters now. Of course, some kids will need to study in Nigeria and also go for masters. So I'll be talking simultaneously with master students, those students who maybe for one reason or the other, they want to do their first degree here and would want to migrate later for MSO. I'm just going to use one stone to kill two birds. So GRE, which is Graduate Record Examination, is for students going for masters, also MBA. So MBA, they may request them to write GMAT, that's the Graduate Management Admission Test. So we prepare students for this exam, the Scholastic Achievement Test, and also they need to write the English Proficiency Test. So we prepare them for this exam. So we prepare for examinations, we do the admissions, also we do housing, the housing. Some of them, in fact, after a child has secured admission, even to one of the best schools, they would want to know where will that child stay. So if those things are not put in place, it's enough reason for the child to be denied. So we do housing, we do all the housing so as to complete the documentation for the visa. So we also do the flight booking. We have some affiliates with some companies who do the booking at very, very, considerable or considerate prices. Also, we do mentoring. Let me tell you a little story here. Last 2 years, a child was rusticated from a school in the US. We got to know during one of the forum what happened. The child impregnated a child, another a female student, and then he denied with the fear. They summoned the case to a panel in the school and yet could not resolve. And then the parent here in the country didn't get to know about that. It was later on it got to the parent, and by then it was late, and the child was repatriated to the country. So you see why we cannot rule out the place of mentorship. It is never enough for you to get an admission for that child. We go as much as possible to create a community. So every child going from our companies, we have a community whereby we keep monitoring and we keep assisting them where possible. So nobody got to know about that until that child was repatriated and is back to Nigeria. Because of that case, nobody was following. A different case happened. A child was one way or the other, one reported that the other person was stalking him in the campus. I'll mention the school, Howard University in Columbia. This child called the mom and told the mom that a lady has been stalking me. So the mother had to intervene, and somehow the school got to know, and they had to call this other lady, and then they gave any time this mentorship is not to be taken lightly, and we do beyond admission, we do beyond examination preparation, we go as far as monitoring the progress while they are over there in the countries that we have prepared or proposed or process the admissions for them. Okay, I'll just go. So what is the next step for Meta Ecclesia College? What is the next step? Now, I want to congratulate you on the feat so far. It is not easy, to the teachers. I'm giving you, for the remarkable feat you've covered so far. To the student also, I learned this is the first graduating student. So you really have to take, take your examination, that's the WAEC and the IGCSE, take it very seriously. Just like the former speaker mentioned, they form the basis for your O level, and every institution that you are going to process your admission into will request it, and they will need a minimum for you to get to a good schools, the likes of the likes of Howard, for example, the likes of the Harvard. You need a GPA of not less than 3.5. That means you should have a lot of A's. We try as much as possible, and because we demand so much for these kids, that is why Solution Platform divides means to prepare them. So we go to schools, partner with schools, and also to prepare the children who are ready to take these exams. So we call that TTT, Train the Trainers program. So we go to schools to prepare them for this exam, because we have men who are veteran in the exam, and they've been having remarkable results. I take mathematics, for example, and every year I have prepared kids that score 800 over 800 in the SAT, and there are facts and figures to back this up. Okay, so the admission checklist for kids going to the United Kingdom: you need your international passport. Then you need your, that's your WAEC. Like I said, I'll be talking about the graduate students and also students going for BSc. That's why you see BSc certificate. So for somebody going for MSc, you will be needing your BSc certificate. But for MEC, that's the Meta Ecclesiae student, you need your WAEC. Is very key. And also if you have your IGCSE, it's not out of place. But I would also collaborate with Tabitha when she mentioned that they need to write, you need to write or finish up the 6th year in the secondary school. So your WAEC is very key. Also, you need the high school transcript. We always recommend that students should have their GSS 1, that's the grade 7 to grade 12. But for those who just finished maybe by grade 12, those I'm talking about, the British curriculum, those who just at the grade 11, they are done. For such one, they can have an estimated grade 12 result. All right, so they can just project. So we need this transcript to back up some of the collaterals from the school. So this MEC, I'm saying this now to the management of MEC, you should, provide stamped or sealed certificate or collaterals of this student, because it's going to be helpful in processing the admissions. Also, you need reference letters. I would say that reference letter must be signed. One must come from the counselor of the school, and also one must come from one of the teachers. Of course, the teacher would have mentioned how competent or the sustainability of that child's result, so to say, how will the child survive in the next stage of education. So reference letter will speak volume. And also you need your SOP, the statement of purpose or statement of intention. You need to draft. Former speaker made mention of this. A lot of people, they struggle with this. However, we have advisors in-house. After the children would have, written their statement, their essays, we have, counselors in-house that will guide them through to ensure what they've written are good enough and presentable. So you also need the WAEC results. Also, the CV. This is the time, I'm saying this to mommies in the house, especially parents that have just a child, just one child. Now, there's a place of the love for a child, and there's a place, schools like, for example, a child was to get admission into Yale. There were so many demands, Yale in US. This, in addition to academic fit or academic grades, they want to know how socially stable that child is. So they want to see how committed, that child input to the community within. So the extracurricular activity child engages in All of parents begin to gather those things, begin to gather them, because they will form, a strong and a flawless admission application. We need all that. For parents looking into getting a child into Harvard, we want to see beyond academic grades. What other things is that child known for? What other extracurricular activities? Was the child good in any sport? We want to see papers. So school, I'm saying this to you. So I've already mentioned the test, that's the exception. Now, for children going to TSA, let me say this. If you're going to school in UK, right, I will encourage you, and in fact, it is key that if you're going to schools in UK, for example, Oxford University, they will need you to write SAT. They will need you to submit your TOEFL, test of English as a foreign language. It is very key that you write that, or you write the academic module of the IELTS, that's International English Language Testing System. It's very key that you write any of that. And then have a minimum score in the TOEFL of 100 is on a band of 120. So if a child is able to have 100 over 120, very key. And the child wants to go to school in UK, like schools in Oxford, they are open hands. And then some of them, in addition to SAT, in addition to those tests you take, they will still subject you to TSA. That's the thinking, the thinking skills assessment. Schools like Oxford, they want to subject you to a lot of them, to some of those things. Also, schools in Canada, in addition to your SAT, in addition to your IELTS or TOEFL, they will still give you one form of test. They have organization they contact to send you test link, and you'll take it, English and math. So English and math is very key. So summarize this page. Extracurricular activities. Don't say I'm the introvert. I don't want. Please, for the mercy and for tomorrow, encourage your child to participate in an extracurricular activity. Is very key. And also, some people would always say that there are no scholarship in UK. For all the students that go through us, 80% of them, 80% of them are on full scholarship. The rest are on partial scholarship. Partial scholarship in more of funding. They give tuition waiver. I will not encourage the mother. Haven't spent 9 to 5 every day, saving your hard-earned money. You now use it to pay for school fees abroad, where there are platform opportunities, scholarship opportunities over there. There are scholarships, there are fellowships available for your ward. For UK, for example, I've just mentioned there are fully funded, scholarships. For example, the first one there is the Chevening Scholarship, awarded by the UK government. It just applies to the MSc student, graduate student. The Commonwealth Scholarship and Fellowship is available for professionals. So the one that really concern MEC, because they are going for a BSc, is the Cambridge Trust International Scholarship. They are there, and we have links with search. Once the child mentions the course they are going for, all we need to is to search the scholarships that are applicable to this child. Okay, so, and I'm so, I think I've rounded up already. I have spent over 1 minute now. This is like 16 minutes. So the bachelor degree for Germany, you need your passport, you need your certificate, all of those things that have been mentioned earlier on. During the Q&A, maybe you need me to explain more. I would just, Mr. Clement and I will be very glad to, extract some other requirements. Those requirements are up there. They're just retreating what I've said earlier on. And I think on this note, I will just bring in Mr. Clement to highlight this last two parts, the first school living certificate, and then the confirmation of blocked account. Mr. Clement, if you could just talk to the House in 1 minute or two where that is needed. And then we'll give room for to the moderator to take up. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. I think time is fast spent. The first school living certificate is just a requirement of the embassy. There are so many requirements that the embassy will request from a student after being granted admission. And the first school living certificate, which is that of primary, is just one of it. Then the block account is something that is a major thing for anybody who wants to school in Germany. Most of the schools in Germany, about 85% of the schools in Germany are free tuition. You don't have to pay any fees as school fees. So, but the German government, they require anybody coming to school in Germany to be able to cater for himself or herself, at least for the first 1 year. And they will require you to block a particular amount. Blocking it means putting a particular amount into your own account, but a German account that will be accessible to you when you come to Germany. And every month, that money will be released to you. Presently now, I don't know if we should take the rate of this, but in euros is about 10 euros. That is what they will require. But it's not a requirement for the admission. That is why it is in bracket, embassy. It is not a requirement for admission. After getting admission, it is a requirement that the embassy will look at before actually granting you a visa. So I think more can come during the question and answer session so that we can really understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clement and Mr. Drew, for that wonderful presentation. Please, let me just quickly mention this. Please, if you have questions, please kindly drop your question on the group chat. You can drop your question on the group chat. Your questions will be attended to shortly. So very quickly, I would also like to introduce the second speaker. Let's just give her like 5 minutes to quickly round off with our points. Over to you, Mrs. Iyabo. Thank you.
Thank you, and apology. The system tripped off. So where I was talking about I was talking about the fact that this admission cycle, because of COVID-19, a lot of schools are exempting their students presenting SAT results. But my advice is that students should still write to improve their profile. So I'll quickly run through the 5 steps to prepare for study in the US. I've talked about researching your major. Then I talked about money. Money is very key. So how do students pay for their study in the US? So a student can pay between 0 and 100% of what the cost of attendance is. So how the schools in the US that are need blind, there are a couple of them. There are 5 of them that are fully need blind for everybody, whether it's an international, so whether it's an international, do I need to address this now? I'll take it during the question section, please. I'll expatiate on the gap here. So whether, I'm going to be giving real examples. So that's very important. For example, this year, we have a student who is going to, a Nigerian, finish from Catholic, just like from a Lagoon. So I work with her. So she's going to a particular school this year, Columbia precisely, and she's fully funded. And they're going to be paying for her passage. They are buying her ticket and everything. So how come? So that's what I'm going to be explaining. So how come? Because number one, Columbia is not fully need blind, it's need aware. But so they were able to look at her, and then they gave her all the available scholarships for her to be able to attend at the cost that her parents can afford. And when they looked at her, it's 0. So she's fully funded, and then they're going to pay for her ticket. I'm just giving one example. And there are other schools too. So there are a couple of need blind schools that will give you full fund. They will give you as much money as your profile plays out. So what is your profile? Your profile is your WAEC, is your academic profile, which is your WAEC result and the SAT and the TOEFL. So what else is your profile? Your profile is the major that you want to study. So that school can offer it. So what is your profile? Your profile is also your parent financial profile. What is your parent financial profile? So Mr. Joel's father is Dangote. So my own father, I'm an orphan and my mother sells akara in Kano. So I'm giving you live example now. Live example. Mr. Joel's father works for ExxonMobil. So then my father is late and my mother sells akara in Kano. So Mr. Joel, this schools, they will look at Mr. Joel and myself, Yabo, and say, okay, I love both of them. So they will admit both of us. So each one of us will pay according to what the profile of our parents are, the financial parents of our parents are. So I will pay 0, and that boy paid 0 in a particular school in America. And currently, he just finished his master's at Georgia Institute of Technology and is working at Silicon Valley. It's not the only, I'm just giving one example. I have UC Berkeley, they're all over. I have the data. So, but you, Mr. Joel, you pay full because your father works in ExxonMobil. You understand? So people pay based on their parents' financial profile. So that is the schools that are need blind. So the next set of schools are schools that have merit-based scholarships. If they have merit-based scholarship, they will base their scholarship number. It can be academic, it can be on leadership, maybe it can be on leadership, it can also be on an invention. Understand? And most of the time, they're looking for young people who have made impact in their environment. So they're trying to compensate them for the impact that they are making, because they trust that if they admit them, they will make such impact on their campuses, number one. Number two, they will come up with world-class invention that can turn the fortune of America around. So it's always derivative. So it's always a win-win. So it's not really free per se. So that is how money is. So it's important that parents know exactly what they can afford. So if I have a child who is currently in, let's say, SS1, I like students, so for the parents who are here who have other children, this is not really, well, the children, because they probably doing the gap year, they can still try to make efforts to do a lot of things. There's a lot of things that they can do. There's a lot of things that they can do between now and when they go to school next year that can still jack up their profiles. So that is how money is. Money is very key. So as parents, children don't need rich parents. What they need is they need the best of themselves. So what should they do? They should be mindful of their GPA. So for now, for your students who are currently in SS2 going to SS3, I will advise that they focus on their WAEC. So that's my advice. More so that if they intend to do a gap year. But if they're not doing a gap year, that means that they're going to start the application tomorrow. Tomorrow is when the common application is coming out. And then all the other schools too who are not on common app, they'll start coming out. University of California schools, their forms will come out tomorrow. The schools that are on common app will come out tomorrow. MIT will come out by next week. They all start coming out. So that means that for those of you who are doing gap year, they can still do so much. So they should start preparing. And the parents should please be intentional about guiding their parents and their children. The money is out there. I can tell you that the average cost, if you intend to send your child to school, the range will be like, a child can get 0, but not many percentage will get from 0. So you can go from 0 up to an average of $30,000. But then depending on your child's academic record and the profile, you can get a very good school, very good at that, maybe for about $20,000, $3,000, it depends. What I want to say here is that parents should rather focus more on the schools that are very strong in the majors that their children want to study, rather than focusing on Ivy League. I'm not against Ivy Leagues, and I'm being rather, annually, I place students into Ivy League. This admission cycle, I have a student who is going to Princeton. Last year, I have Johns Hopkins, I have Brown, I have MIT. My student from MIT graduates, like, apart from my own sons that went to MIT, every year now, most of my students are going to be graduating in the next 4 years. So it's not about, but we should not just focus on Ivy Leagues. When we are selecting schools, let's select a few of the rich schools like the Ivy Leagues that we know that our children can afford with their profiles, not based on our own academic, but our own financial strength, that they can attain based on their own financial profile, on their own profile, their strength. Number one. We should also be real. They should also we should be real about all that. So we select such schools. Then we also should select schools that match the profiles of our children. The schools that aspire with them. When I look at this, I can say, okay, this is the SAT score. That's what they're looking for. GPA. If you intend to apply to all those top schools, you need from 3.8 to 4.0 out of 4. That's the GPA you are looking at. And if you are applying to a school like Harvard, all those schools, you need SAT score close to 1,500 and 1,500 and above. If you are looking at their S82, their S82 should be looking at 700, above 700 and above in every subject that you are taking, because you are competing with the whole world. Everybody is trying to get into all those schools. If you look at the admission rate, they're about 7%, 8%. Even the ones that the admission rate, like they are even 15%, they are still very, they're also still very, oh Lord. I think your phone caught me. So so it's important. Money is key. So money, I like to hammer on money. So the way to do money is that if you have children who are in school, so the school has a responsibility, the parents have responsibilities also, and the children also have responsibilities. So what should the school be doing? These children, work does not kill. Work does not kill. There's nothing wrong with them. Hit them, let them, they will not die. I work with young people, and I work with them for years. Before I started this as a business, most of my children, their friends in Loyola, Adesoye, everybody, I was one that I prepared them for college. I have not seen anyone of them dropping dead if doing anything. So work does not kill. The school should make them do more. They should be very focused and intentional. I'm going to share with the school some websites where the children on their and also teachers can also use to optimize to add to the resources that are available in the school. So that's number one. Then number two, the school, if the school, for example, I've not had time to look properly at the profile of the school. If the school does not have enough extracurricular activities, the students don't need to rely only on the school-sponsored program. They can, in their homes, the things that they do at home are very important. The things that they do at home, they are very, very important. Things that they do at home, very important. Because school will be looking at they call it family responsibilities. How are they helping their parents at home? How are they responsible for their younger ones? So that's very important. Then they belong to communities. They can do something in their churches. They can do things in the environment. If they live in Ikorodu, they can do something, gather the children in Ikorodu and make impact. They can do, it doesn't have to be within the school. Then if you tell me as a student that you are interested in coding, and I'm an admission officer, I'm going to ask you, if you tell me you're interested in coding, so show me. You don't tell me. You should show me. When you show me, I say, oh, this child is actually very interested in coding. So the children should get their hands dirty and build up their profile, and they have to be intentional about that. It's not just academic. The academic has to be outstanding. These schools, they have all the money. They are just looking for young people that will fit into the profile that they're waiting for. And most of the Nigerian children, they have the capability. They have it in them. They can make it. Most of the Nigerian children can make most of the schools in the US at next to nothing. So the school should help them. I don't know. You pardon me if I keep comparing Loyola. Like Loyola now, even within Loyola, within Loyola is not for you to get everything that you want. The same thing with Adesoye. I don't know. I'm going to take time to look and I'll make suggestions. The school has to be, so the money. The reason why I'm saying the money is that I'll be very honest with you. Even if you give me the child of a Dangote to prepare for study in the US, I'm still going to find value. That's engineering. I'll find that people have to pay when they don't need to pay. And it does not need to be expensive to be good. So parents need to work on, if they have a children, sit on their heads. Their necks will not break. Their necks will not break. Sit on their heads, make them optimize their life and their potentials. Let them get busy. So for the application, so I've talked about the money. Then the next one is application. Application is very, very rigorous and is intentional. Schooling in the US is very, very rigorous. But the education is very robust. It's the education that you get that when you finish, you are ready. If you want to work for yourself, you are ready. My first son runs his own company in Nigeria here. He owns a financial company. He went to all the top schools. He's back here in this correct Nigeria that people said is not good. He's here. And how did he get the money to run? I'm sharing with parents now. My husband and I do not have a dime in the company that my son is running. So all these children, they have all the opportunity. They only is a seed fund. It's from the seed fund that they started the business that they are doing. 4 of them, they gathered together, young people. They left all the top jobs in the US and they are here. So another thing, parents, please stop telling your children that Nigeria is bad. There are a lot of good things in Nigeria. Stop telling them that. So the other thing that they need to do is that, what they need to do is that they just need to be, so number one, they need to apply for the schools. The application form will come out 1st of August every year. So they need to apply. Before application, already selected the schools. They need to reach out to their teachers for recommendations, letters of recommendations. The other thing that they need to do, they are going to be writing essays. They cannot escape essays. What is the place of the essay in college application of America? The admission officers are going to be dealing with thousands of children. So how do you stand out? You need to be very articulate. You must write such that, and it doesn't take much to do that, to learn to do that. It doesn't take much. It just takes persistent reading. Persistent, if you read, children have to just read. They don't have a choice. Reading, there's nowhere in the world where people are taught how to read fast. Reading fast comes with practice. Where's the practice? They should read. They should read newspapers. They should read literature. They should just read. They don't have to read what literature reads. If you like fiction, read fiction. If you like non-fiction, read non-fiction. They just must read. They have to read. So they must read. So they're going to be writing essays. So all those things are very important. So apart from the essays, the other thing they're going to be doing is that they're going to send their SAT scores. Everything that they have to do must be done aside the deadline. Something that's very important, please. Scholarships, everything that has to do with money has time tied to it. If your children intend to get a lot of value out of the application system to America, please let them start early, taking SAT 1 latest October, SAT 2 latest November. If they now choose to rewrite any one of them, they can rewrite either of them in December, but they will have done early action or early decision. So that way, for schools in California system, they only have one admission decision, and their deadline is November 30. For Georgia Tech, for example, if the form comes out tomorrow, the deadline to submit for Georgia Tech is October 15 for early action. So the forms will come. So they cannot just start in August. They have to start months before, like Easter time, select schools and just generally start writing. They write. The writing is always the same pattern. Why, where, and why? Where are you coming from? You have the education. What do you want to do with it? What do you want to study? Why are you studying it? They must be able to say why they want to go to school. If not, we don't all need to go to school. If all they're going to school is to just make money, they don't necessarily have to do that. So it's very important. So the transcript is very, very important. Transcript and recommendations. So children, they need to keep their heads together. They should not get into trouble. For example, a particular student in a particular school got into Stanford. The admission was rescinded because the child had some issues with conduct. And up to today, the child did not go to the Harvard. I think she's somewhere in the UK now. So they need to be. It's not for college application. People just have to learn to behave well. That's what we need so that we can take the country forward. So basically, that's what I would say. I only want to talk about the money, so I've talked about the preparation. So I said the transcript is very important. The SAT scores are important. WAEC is king. That is very important. They need to be of good behavior. They need to get their hands dirty with extracurricular and co-curricular activities. All those things are very important. The other things, once we have the admission, visa is a piece of cake. Visa is a piece of cake, which is the next step. And after that, they prepare they prepare to study. So if the children are looking to get money, a lot of money, they also need to pay for the money. They need to pay with their profile. They need to be the best in whatever they are doing. They need to be outstanding. They can collaborate. They can gather up all their contemporaries. Even for those of them, if you say, my expectation is that for every child in this generation, they should be able to code. They should get involved in coding. Whether they want to study or they want to study art, it really does not matter. Every child should be tech savvy. They should have technology knowledge. Even we as parents too. We all need to. It's very important. So there's so much to say. If you leave me, I'm just going to be talking on and on and on because that's what I enjoy doing. So I'm going to let you be. So if there are questions, my parents they've been sending questions, so I will attend to the questions. I want to recognize I have my partner here. She's in the background, Mrs. Shomori. So when the questions come up, I'm here. I can take all the questions. So I thank you for the opportunity, and I thank you for the school. So let me tell you a bit of myself. I was raised a Muslim, but I attended a Catholic school. So I was the head girl in Marywood Grammar School. So I'm Catholic biased. So I would like to tell you that. So I actually started off being a Catholic before my husband drew me back to his Anglican church. So I thank you for the opportunity. I'm really very happy to have been able to talk to you. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. That was wonderful. That was great. We really appreciate, Ma. So we believe that this will guide some of our students that are already looking at USC, they're looking at United Kingdom, they're looking at Germany, or even other European countries. We hope that this will guide them. At least they've learned one or two things from you. At least they've known what to do. At least they know what to do by now. They know the things, the do's and the don'ts, the criteria, what is involved. For those that also want to also go to local schools, private schools in Nigeria, they also know what to do. We thank you very much, ma'am, for that wonderful presentation. Please, like I mentioned earlier, if there are questions, I can only see like 3 or 4 questions on the chat. Please, if there are questions, please kindly drop the question on the group chat. Please, your questions will be attended to. The speakers will attend to all your questions. They will attend to you privately. So please, kindly drop your questions on the group chat. So very quickly, without wasting much of our time, I will introduce the 4th speaker. The 4th speaker is no other person than Mr. Olufemi Ajulu. Now, Mr. Olufemi Ajulu was trained as an accountant and widely traveled. He's the chairman and CEO of Michelle and Anthony Consulting Private Firm Limited. That's here in Nigeria. So very quickly, the voice will be here will be that of Mr. Ajalu. Mr. Ajalu, over to you. Please kindly unmute yourself. Okay.
Hello. Hello,
please,
my name is Mr. Ajulo.
Ajulos, Mr. Ajulo, sorry, yes, sir. Please, please, sir.
I got short notice about this, and because I'm a Catholic, I was the only mass server that served when Pope John Paul came to Nigeria in 1982. But I'm going to make some clarities. I've been in education consulting for 27 years. When I learned about this, I invited Simon Bush, my partner that represents ELS in US schools. I have over 347 universities that ELS works with that we work with. So he's going to talk a lot about that. I'm just going to speak for 5 minutes before I allow Simon to speak because it's a secondary school. And the point I'm going to make is about how admissions are done. By the grace of God, I've sent over 21 students out from Nigeria. And I will start first. For MEC, because of the problems Nigeria have about writing and all that, I employed Eton College. They did a program, it's called Eton X. It's online where kids are taught about critical thinking, writing skills and all that because of the problems we have. But I'll make some clarities before Simon talked about America University. One, UK, if you have a GSC, you have a better chance to go to schools in UK. One, you don't need to do IELTS or any of that because that's their own curriculum. It's not like somebody coming to do Nigeria, that's one. But you must do foundation because it's like an O level. For students in UK, you're expected to do A levels. My daughter did IGSC Nigeria and she attended University of Greenwich and she had first class in pharmacy. My son went to Grace Secondary School and I made him to do Abbey College for A levels, foundation 1 year. And today he's the only black doing marine studies in Plymouth. So UK schools, I'm conversant with them and I'm telling you, what do you need? For Germany also, I've sent over 10,000 students to Germany. If you want to go to Germany, if you don't have minimum of 5.8 million, don't try at all. Your block account is 10,2946. If you multiply it by 500 and something now, that's the amount. So if you are thinking of sending your child abroad, fund is one of the main things. The other things I can say, because I can't say it under short time, because I want Simon to take over so that I can explain a lot of scholarships available in UK, in US.
Mr. Simon?
Yes, sorry, I just having some sound problems there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Excellent. Okay, well, let me just share my screen first of all, quickly.
Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, wait. Okay, you can now. You can share your screen.
Okay. Are you okay now? Can you see? Yeah. Can we see the screen?
Not yet, sir.
Can you see it now?
No, sir.
Any sign of it yet?
No.
Right. Okay. Well, let me just carry on talking because I know time is short, and I do want to address some of the points that Victor has made. Let me myself first of all. My name's Simon Gooch. I work for an American company called ELS, but I also have my own sort of side enterprise called Seed Educational Consulting. Both of these operations are involved in helping students access university studies in the United States. And what I want to do first of all is just to give a little bit of an overview from 20 years of experience in the sorts of factors that I think parents should take into account when choosing the right institution in the United States. And those factors, it's very important because there are nearly 4,800 universities and colleges in the US. It's not like the UK where you've got 130 universities. You know, trying to research every option out there in the US is extremely hard. And this is why most parents would prefer to go through an experienced counselor. Now, the first question, I mean, I've been listening to the last few presenters and the discussions have been very, very Ivy League focused so far. The bottom line is that unless your kid is a straight A student, they're not going to get into an Ivy League school, even if they're ready to pay full fees. That's the realistic situation. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't get into an Ivy League school at a later point, but my job as a counselor is to really help students, first of all, work out what level of institution they may be able to join based on their GPA. Now, the first factor that I think is very important, again, everybody's been talking about four-year universities so far. But you also have, in parallel to a four-year university in the US, you have the community college route, the first 2 years. And then they go on to complete the final 2 years in a university. The community college route is an extremely good route for many students. It's more affordable, it's easier to get into, and it builds up a student's confidence and academic prowess during those first 2 years. Typically, class sizes are smaller in a community college, so there's a more personalized approach to teaching. And then, depending on their GPAs, they can transfer into many top universities, as I'll show in a minute. Of course, you also need to think about majors. You know, what do they want to study? And again, as an observer who clearly is not Nigerian, one of the things I noticed a lot in West Africa generally is that a lot of students are encouraged towards traditional professions by their parents. Doctor, architect, engineer maybe, pharmacist, lawyer, the traditional professions. But remember, there's a lot more opportunity out there. There's a lot of great majors that I sadly get asked very, very rarely about. Things like data analytics, even options like cybersecurity. I'm surprised how few people ask me about opportunities to study cybersecurity when it is probably the #1 career opportunity moving forwards. And remember as well that certain majors, such as law and medicine, are not even available at bachelor level in North America. Frankly, if someone tells me they want to study law and they're coming out of high school, the US or indeed Canada, they are not the right places for you, unless perhaps you're interested in business law, contractual law. But if your plan is to become a lawyer, as a rule, I would not recommend starting in the United States, maybe more at master's level. Budget, of course, is all important. I have to say the chances of getting a fully funded scholarship are remote. You have to be an outstanding student. Most cities in the United States do not have the funding to be able to offer 100% scholarship. Let me give you an example, which is a large university, 50,000 students. So each year there's approximately 10,000 fresh students joining the program. They have one single fully paid scholarship. So this idea that lots and lots of students are going to be able to pick up a fully funded scholarship is in the United States, in the UK, in Canada, just not realistic. Most 99.9% of scholarships are partial scholarships. And there we could certainly help based on someone's GPA. But because of a wide range in tuition fees in the United States, sometimes a scholarship option may not be the cheapest one. Sometimes we can encourage a student towards an institute offering the scholarship, but which will still be cheaper. Other factors that frankly are very rarely considered, but which to me are very important. When you're sending your 17, 18, what sort of environment do you want them to be in? Are you okay with the idea of them studying in a large city, such as New York, Los Angeles? I personally send students to smaller colleges because I feel it's much more adapted to the needs of West African students. Ranking. Everybody wants their kid to go to an Ivy League school. And so rankings often are looked at very closely. But to understand that ranking, especially at bachelor level, is not the be-all and end-all. On the other hand, 2 points that I think are important and that are very discussed are the average class size and who is actually teaching your kid. So, for example, I'm going to come back onto community college in a minute, but let me just reflect on the ranking sides. Most rankings that you will see are heavily focused on research. Research, that means master's and PhD. Therefore, they are not particularly relevant for someone joining the first year of a bachelor degree. Now, in the United States, you do have the US News and World Report. They do have some undergraduate, and those are based on teaching quality. That is much more relevant to a bachelor student. But going back to two of those points I raised just now. So in many of the top universities, a lot of classes, particularly in year one, will be taught by a research assistant. In other words, a PhD student, not by the professor. And the higher the ranking of the university, the fewer classes your kid will have with an actual professor. In contrast, if you go to a community college, if you go to a university that's much more teacher focused, the professors will be teaching the classes. But at your Harvards, at your Stanfords, at your UC Berkeley's, the professors want to focus on their research. Teaching gets in the way. So this is why I would argue that in most cases, ranking is not such an important point. By all means, think about a Harvard or an MIT or something like that at a later point, at master's level. Of course, at that level, it's going to be highly relevant and it's going to be a fantastic experience. Class size is also important. Again, you could go to a really high-ranking university, such as University of Michigan, and most of your classes, you're going to be sitting in a lecture theater full of students, 400, 500 students. Now, some students, they can cope with that, but for a lot of students adapting to a different country, they just sink. So for me personally, if you're sending your 17, 18-year-old kid abroad, class size is, for me, a very important factor. And I would look at a university or a college that can deliver consistently small classes, because that means your kid is going to have more opportunity to put questions to the professor and more personal attention. So those are just some thoughts there. As I say, community colleges, they are a much underrated approach in much of West Africa, and yet they can still lead to top universities. So there is the opportunity to start in a community college for 2 years, build up your confidence, and then perhaps to transfer to a Harvard or an MIT or a Stanford. It's still not easy, but I have seen students do that. I have seen students even manage to move from a community college and get a fully funded scholarship for the 3rd year. These are not regular cases, but it does happen. But it is easier if your only goal is to get your kid into an Ivy League school. It is more realistic through the community college route. The GPA requirement is slightly lower than at freshman year. Now, as I say, I'm only representing certain universities. So here is a list, or colleges. Here is a list of the colleges and the universities that I am personally promoting through my seed education vehicle. Now, I have selected these institutions on the basis that I have been to the campus and that these institutions, for me, offer the right sort of experience for a student from West Nigeria, be it what it may. And that means smaller class sizes. It means affordable study. It means being able to also have a realistic chance of accessing these institutions. You know, not everyone at the school is going to be a straight A student at WIAC, and even straight A's do not guarantee you access to an Ivy League school at freshman year, because they are inundated with applications from around the world. Now, I did notice one of the questions earlier was asking about, you know, what are the deadlines for SAT? It's very, very important to understand that SAT is not required by the majority of US institutions. SAT-2 is only required really by about the top 50 in the United States. So your Harvards, your MITs, and so on. For a lot of students, there is going to be no necessity to pass one of those exams. However, a good SAT score can improve the scholarship opportunities at certain institutions. But in general, what we're looking for are the WIAC results. Some schools will want to review the transcripts for the last 3 years, just to see if the student has consistently been studying well. They'll be looking for, as I say, SAT, ACT, it may or may not be required, very rarely required, but can be an advantage. English language test score, it depends on the institution. Typically, community colleges would not require such an exam from a Nigerian student. Some universities do, okay? And right now, because the TOEFL and IELTS centers have been closed for a while, many institutions are accepting Duolingo, which is an online test that you can take at home as an alternative. And then, of course, the other key question is the finances, the proof of finances. You have to be able to show 1 year of estimated expenses on a bank statement in order, and that amount will vary by institution. So that is what is referred to as the I-20 amount. The I-20 is effectively the admission letter you get sent from your institution in the US. Each university has estimated the cost of the year of expenses. That's tuition, housing, food, medical insurance, miscellaneous expenses. You have to be able to show that you have in a bank account at least that amount of money in your bank account. And ideally, you should show quite a bit more. If you're only just over the minimum, it does present more difficulties at the US Embassy during the visa interview. Now, I don't want parents to get too worried about these things right now. You know, with Mr. Victor, Mr. Ajulo, my local partner in Nigeria, we are there to help you with these, okay? And so we can help you, we can advise you based on the individual circumstances of each of your children. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Simon. I don't know whether I still have 2 minutes to just talk because, like I said, we've all learned from everybody. And because I've been into this for long, by the grace of God, I've been opportunity to go to 22 countries speaking on education. Last year, I was among the people chosen. I think I'm the only Nigerian that was called by the Indian government in developing the higher education policy. I attended in November in India on the sponsorship of the Indian government. I also have a lot of schools there, so I don't want to bore you with a lot, but then I can tell you that, look, there are opportunities there, but just like Mrs. Tabitha said, when she's talking about money, I have to tell you that it's not that cheap. I and Simon, one of our students last year, was very good. He got 70% scholarship to St. Thomas's to read engineering. St. Thomas is number 45, but the fee is $100,000. The scholarship is $30,000, which includes also the accommodation for the boy. So a lot of things like that happened. I just want us to know. In Germany right now, I have partnerships in Germany that there are universities that will allow your student after the first year, they will pay for the education of the boy and he will be working. It's called study and work. My business development guy can talk about it. I'm sorry that I got the short notice that I'll be speaking here, so I didn't prepare a slide, but then I told the two people that are very close to me on that. We are introducing also something that my business development will talk about. MEC, you have just finished. It is important for the school to adopt the EtonX online program for speaking, for critical thinking, and for confidence. That is when you can do what Mrs. Tabitha just said, because the time is short now, except you don't want the kids to go next year. They check about what they write and all that. UK schools, I sent some school students, like 25 students to Queen Etterburger College in UK. From age of 10, they will do an interview with you. They will ask about how you can write. So thank you. I won't want to bore you. I want the next person to talk. When you have questions and answers, we can always do justice to that. Everybody has spoken well. Thank you very much. Simon, thank you for taking time to be there, but you can wait. They might want to ask questions, but we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ajulo. Thank you. So over to you, Mr. Justin Osolo.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Oyedeji Justin Osho. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Thank you so much to every administrative personnel who have put this together from Mata Ecclesiae. We're really grateful. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. It's been a great honor to listen to Mr. Nicholas, Mrs. Iyabode, Mr. Joel, Mr. Simon, and my boss, Mr. Victor Olufemi Ajulo. So I'm just going to go through what I have today. Please permit me to share my screen. We've talked so much about digital education. We've talked so much about universities, but there's something that we've really not been able to touch on, which I will be throwing a bit more light on today. So I don't know if we can see the screen right here. Can you see my screen, please?
Yes, sure, yes.
All right. So very quickly, I have just 10 minutes and I'm going to run through what I have. So we are giving the Nigerian students an opportunity to earn what we call the OSSD. So the OSSD simply means the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. Okay, that's what the OSSD means. And very quickly, we have been able to partner with Kanata Academy. Okay, Kanata Academy is a school, an academy in Ontario, Canada. And what we've done is to help Nigerians. We're helping Nigerians earn the OSSD because the OSSD opens the Nigerians to various universities, top universities across countries like Canada, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, United Kingdom. The OSSD is a criteria to getting access, admission into all of the top universities in these well-developed countries that I mentioned. Okay, so how are we basically supposed to approach this? Very quickly, the very good thing about this is at such a time as this, when there's the pandemic, people are practically asking the question, how do I get my child to earn this diploma? How do I get my child to get certified? Can they take it even from this country here in Nigeria? And the answer to that is yes. This happens to be the productive way to 21st century learning, I must tell you, and it's called the blended learning. So Kanata Academy is giving us or pushing across to us, to many of us who are lying in various countries around the world, an opportunity to earn the OSSD through what we call blended learning. Now, what is blended learning? Blended learning is just simply a style of education in which students learn through electronic and online media, as well as traditional face-to-face, okay? So very quickly, we are saying, what are the benefits of this? What are the benefits of the children opting in for the OSSD? One, I need you to understand, everybody on this call to understand that first and foremost, to our mothers, fathers here, we are doing this also in partnership with the Ministry of Education, Ontario, okay? We're not doing this alone, but Kanata Academy in partnership with, okay, the Ministry of Education in Ontario. This is the advantage or the benefit that your child stands to get. Number one, he or she is given an OEN. What is an OEN? An OEN simply means an Ontario education number. And with this number that the student really has or possesses, he has access to approach universities in Canada as a domestic student. And I must also tell you that once your child earns this OSSD, he's got access to all of the top universities. And I'm going to show you that in later slide. I'm just trying to stick to my time. Secondly, it increases the chance. We want to be able to allow schools to integrate the Canadian curriculum, okay, into their normal national curriculum right here. So we're opening this door for schools, secondary schools right here to partner with us and to be seen or to be recognized as an OSSD center. So this is open basically to parents, individual parents. Okay, your children can sign on and they can get access to several benefits, which I will talk about very soon. And it's also open to schools right here. And I'm saying this to Mater Ecclesiae. Your school can partner with us, and then your school is seen or perceived as an OSSD center that will then be able to give out OSSD certificates to children. All right, so very quickly, I'm just moving ahead. So what is the criteria? What are the criteria to your child earning the OSSD? Very importantly, the child is expected to have gotten what we call credits, 30 credits from grade 9 up until grade 12. So grade 9 in Nigeria is simply called GSS3. So the child ought to have earned 8 credits in grade 9, 8 credits in grade 10, 8 in grade 11, and then 6 credits in grade 12, which totals 30 credits. Now, this child, after getting 30 credits, can get access into this university, but many parents are usually asking, and this is the question, what if my child is past grade 9? What if my child is past grade 10? Now, Kanata Academy and the Ministry of Education Ontario is simply asking that the parents demand for the local transcript from the school here. So if your child is practically in grade 12 right now, you need not worry and you need not be scared of losing out on this very, very great opportunity. So we can demand the local school here, okay, Mater Ecclesiae forwards to us, sends to us the transcript for the child from grade 9 up until grade 11. And this is what happens thereafter. This transcript are sent to the Ministry of Education Ontario, and then what is then done is what we call credit equivalency. So they then award credits to your child based on his performance, okay, in the local school here in Nigeria. And then we can then begin to look forward to him starting at grade 12 or in grade 11. And something very important that I must also mention, in grade 12, it's a bit different from, our system here in Nigeria. In the Canadian curriculum, in the Canadian system, at grade 12, the child is being streamlined to what we call the University Pathway Program. So he's really not taking a broad subject. He's not going broad into taking several subjects, but he's being streamlined into subjects that are related to his discipline and field of study in the university. So at that level, it takes on 6 courses, okay, 6 courses, and also 6 units are expected for him to get at that level. Very importantly, I'll just rush through the courses. So in grade 9, these are the courses that he will take. Grade 10 also, grade 11, and then grade 12. Because of my time, I just have to be pretty fast with this. Now, something very important when we talk about blended learning, it's important that we understand that these are the benefits the child would receive by coming on board this program. Number 1, he gets live session, online demand. He gets live online tutor sessions, okay, with tutors from Canada. Number 1, from Kanata Academy. Number 2, he also has access to 10 on-demand live sessions, which strictly means that when a child goes through a lesson, okay, and he practically doesn't understand what he has gone through, he can also send messages to the teacher in Kanata Academy, and then they book live sessions or live lesson classes, and they explain to him what the things he seemed not to understand, and they go over it together. So the steps are really simple. Once the child opts in, he gets access to the WhatsApp details of this teacher in Kanata Academy, okay? And he also gets access to the live online platform where he can get access to his teachers in Kanata, and then he can start his lessons. So starting his lessons, he goes through evaluations, he goes through examination, and then we also are asking that teachers or the school in Mater Ecclesia will partner with us. And this is what happens when Mater Ecclesia partners with us. They get access to the Canadian curriculum. And they also, the facilitators in Mater Ecclesia, get training sessions from the instructors, from the head teacher in Kanata Academy on how to deliver the Canadian curriculum. So we see it gives our children various opportunities when it comes to their post-secondary education. So the sky is the limit. I must tell you, the sky is the limit to every of our children when they come on and they want to earn, or they earn the OSSD. Lastly, I'll round up by showing us this. These are some of the top schools that I mentioned, top 10 schools in Canada. And I must tell you that they accept this, okay? They also accept from Canada, they accept the OSSD. From United States, they do. From Australia, from United Kingdom, they do. From Singapore and Hong Kong, they also accept the Ontario Secondary School Diploma. I'll round up by saying this, my time is up. If Mater Ecclesia wants to partner with us, we are open for a partnership. And this, in turn, gives your school an opportunity to be open to other students who are interested in earning the OSSD. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you so much for bringing us on board. I'm grateful.
Thank you very much, Mr. Justin. I want to say a very big thank you to all our speakers. I want to say a very big thank you to you all. Very quickly, we'll move to question and answer section. Please, if you have any question or questions, please just signify by raising up your hand. You'll be permitted to speak. If you have any questions, just signify by raising up your hand. You can as well drop the question on the group chat. If you have questions for our speakers, please signify by raising up your hand. You can do that on the Zoom app. Just click on the reaction icon to raise up your hand. Okay, probably let me take some questions from the group chats. Okay, so I think this is to Ms. Yabo. Please, can you clarify the phasing of taking SAT exams in terms of time? You mentioned October, November, and December. Please, can you expand on whether SAT in October of SS3 is kind of late? Siabo.
Okay, thank you. So I'm here. So let me use this year's timeline to answer the question. This normally, outside the US, the SAT dates before COVID-19 that were available to international students to write were usually October, November, December, March, May, and June. In October, students, but this year, because of COVID-19, so students are able to write in August 29th. They're able to write in September. They're able to write in October. They're able to write in November. But in November, they can only write subject SAT. Then they're able to write in December also. For a student who is hoping to get value out of the admission system, my advice is that such students should write, for example, for students who are going next year, who are going to school right after WAEC next year, or who are doing their gap year but going to school next year, they should start they have to write the ones that are available this year. The students who are resuming next year, 2021 in August, should start writing by now. So what I did with my students is that, so that to make them competitive, I made them, because we started prepping for SAT since June. That's what we do every year. So they're going to be writing this August. They're writing August. So if they write August, it gives them a competitive edge. For example, a school like Georgia Tech, I'm just giving an example. Georgia Tech, whose early action deadline is October 15, they're able to meet up. So let's talk about, since I'm answering this question to give more insight to parents, let's talk about admission decisions. So there are actually 5 admission decisions. Number 1 is early action. Early action means that students are required to submit their applications by between November 1st or November 15th, depending on the school. Even though some schools are early, like Georgia Tech, that is October 15th. So most times, there are a lot of values attached to that early submission. Some schools, they will tell you that is the deadline for you to access 100% of the need blind scholarships that they have to offer. You know, for some of them, for certain major, for some schools, if you are being admitted for pre-med into one of those top schools, that will be, they'll tell you can only apply by November 1st or their early action. I'm just giving that. So there's also what you call, and that early action, you can apply to as many schools as you like for early action. But if you're applying to a school like Stanford, Princeton, Harvard, and some other top schools like that, they have what they call restrictive early action. What that means is that you can apply to them early action, but you can because they are private, but you can also apply to other schools that are public schools, but you cannot apply to other private universities early action. That's what that restrictive means. So that's number 2. Then number 3, you have what you call early decision. Early decision is for people, let's say I like a particular school. I like the school. So what you're saying is that, so I like this, and it's binding, there's a contract. If I like the school, I admit. Once the school admits me by December, I have to draw, and then the financial aid, we agree on everything, the cost and everything. And I sign up to attend that school. I have to drop my application to all the other schools. And usually the admission decision is in by December. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the regular application deadline. That one is usually like January, but some schools in Texas, their deadline for regular decision will be like December. But for schools in California, public, UC Berkeley, all those UCLA, all of them are November 30, just 1 admission decisions. So for the other schools that have regular decisions, the admission is usually between from December, like of Texas schools, then January, the very strong schools, all those ones are, they call all the Ivy, then up to like February 15th. Then the 5th one is that some schools, they have rolling admission. What it means is that I can apply, even I can still apply today, since we have not yet processed the student visa for full admission. And if I apply today, and I mean today, and there's still a slot, space to admit me, they will admit me, and it's usually very fast. But those schools, I mean, they are there. So the other thing I want to say is that please, there are schools in the US that will tell you, people will tell you, oh, you don't require a TOEFL score, you don't require, please, my advice to you, there are schools in the US, let me name them. Northeastern University in Massachusetts, University of Houston, I'm just giving you an example. There are other schools that once you school outside America, it does not matter whether you're an American citizen or not. Once you school outside America, you must write the test of English. You must write a test to check your English proficiency. That is, you write TOEFL or IELTS. I prefer TOEFL because TOEFL is less cumbersome. So I prefer TOEFL. You do everything online with TOEFL. But we do IELTS, you have to physically go, you do one test, then another second day. So it's very, and then when you need to send the test, it's very cumbersome. So make simple process, so students should write TOEFL. So number 3 about TOEFL is that school can tell you they don't require TOEFL. The admission officer, the consular officer is the king. The consular officer, if I send you the list of requirements, even from the American embassy, it says TOEFL. So if your children are Nigerians, my advice to you is that please let them write TOEFL. The reason is that as an admission officer, so I'm wondering, why is the student trying to run away from a test? So let them write TOEFL, especially for visa purposes. So that's it. Thank you.
So thank you, ma. I think Ms. Omotosho has a question for our speakers. Ms. Omotosho, are you there, ma?
I am here. Thank you. Good afternoon,
Okay.
everybody.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you so much for a very enlightening session. I'm not really going to ask a question. I just want to encourage, pass a comment to all parents. I will encourage parents, and maybe later I will share a spreadsheet with the school, which they can pass on to parents. I encourage parents to prepare a spreadsheet. Get as many schools that you want to consider, looking at various criteria that have been shared here in details. Use the rankings, the US World Ranking, the University School Ranking, anything that you want to use. Use location. It's good to have locations close to where, it's not every holiday that the child can come to Nigeria. It's good to have a school where your child can find somewhere he can easily access if he needs to leave school for anything. For instance, my son is in school in Rice University. When he was going into Rice was ranked number 12 in America. It's currently number 9, and he got 95% scholarship to go there. He didn't get 100% scholarship. So these are some of the things we did. He couldn't come home because of the COVID, but he was able to just take a bus ride to a relative's house and stay there. So we also encourage people to look at the location and look at, there's so many opportunities that if doing the spreadsheets, then you look at the subject the child wants to use and use that to rank your spreadsheet, and at least apply to minimum of 8 to 10 schools. I thought somebody will mention that. Mrs. Tabitha knows that Mrs. Yabuata always encourages people to do that. Pick at least between 8 to 10 schools. Maybe if you want to do a rich school, do a safety school, look at schools based on what you can pay in case the child doesn't get any scholarship, and then rank your schools and let your child apply. Don't apply to just 2 or 3 schools, because if those 2 or 3 don't give the child admission, then you're stuck. What you may end up paying is just what they call application fees, which is usually between $25 to $100, depending on the school and what they will need us to do. Then there are also liberal arts colleges that allow your child to come in if your child doesn't know what he wants to study. So your child can go into a liberal arts college to start with. Maybe he wants to do science, but he's not too sure of what aspect of science he wants to go into. The first year, the second year, the child can try as many subjects as possible, then specialize in a field towards the end of the program. Partial scholarship, I'll look at the school list that Mr. Simon has shared, but I know that a lot of Nigerians get partial scholarships based on merit, based on what the other schools have said. School size is also very important, as earlier stated. Why I find school size, let me give an example. There was a child that went to school, and for 3 years, he never entered, after the first year, he never entered class. He didn't go to school again. He was just loafing around. The parents didn't know, the school didn't notice, because in each class, there are over 3,000, 4,000 children in the class. So if one child doesn't come, nobody knows. But I also know another child that went to a small school size of about 3,000, 5,000. The day she misses a class, the teacher will call her and say, I didn't see you in class today, because there are just about 25 and then 30 children in the class. So if somebody is missing, it's easy to notice. So those are things that I just feel we should know and take into consideration as we are planning and preparing to get our children to go to school. Thank you. I'm not a coordinator.
Thank you very much, Ma. So we'll also permit Mrs. Eva Edwards to also ask a question.
Thank you. Thank you to all the presenters. This question is for Mr. Joel Daniel. When you spoke about studying in Germany, you did not say much, or I didn't hear you say anything about the language of delivery. Is there a requirement for proficiency in German language? Would the child have to maybe take out a year to study, or I mean, what's that? Thank you.
Just allow you to speak about this language part. Before Clement comes on, to answer that, for taught courses, for English taught courses, first and foremost, if I answer this question, I value time a lot. I know that time is something when once lost, you can't retrieve it. Reason why when I was called up and the much passion I have for education, I see that people should, I put in a lot of it. Today is my birthday, for example, and I have so many guests in the house right now waiting for me. But I value the time to come in here and share some light, and it's very key. I really appreciate everyone here. So straight to the question, for English taught courses, you'll be required to take either TOEFL, Test of English as a Foreign Language, or you take the academic module of the IELTS, International English Language Testing System. If the child is able to hit a band of 6 or 6.5, that will really help. Of course, courses taught in German language, you should need to have a proficiency or score a B2. Maybe Clement can clarify on this area. Clement.
Okay, thank you. Like he said, actually, I was thinking this was going to be less than this, but a lot of time is going in. If not, I would have said more. But let me just summarize the important key points, the things you really need to know about Germany, and also touch the language part. Germany is becoming a destination for so many persons these days because it's obvious. It's kind of in Europe, they are really topping, and it's really free tuition. When I mean free tuition, like, sorry, I don't know his name. The man talked about 5 million or something like that. There was not a time I said it's free, that you're not going to pay anything. But I said it is a blocked account that it is still your money. It is still your money at the end of the day. But the fact there is that there is no tuition you're going to pay for about 85%. I didn't even say all. About 85% of the schools are tuition free. It's true you're going to block an account, but that money is still yours. And there are a lot of ways. I thank God he even mentioned the fact that students are allowed to work. Student job is common here. Yeah, a student can actually fend for himself here and actually do good. So in Germany, there are English taught courses. It's increasing by the day. There are German taught courses. The English taught courses, there are not so many in the bachelor's, but there are a handful of them that are English taught in bachelor. And what you only need is English language proficiency, be it TOEFL, be it IELTS. These are the two major ones. There are other ones. And because of the autonomous system of education in Germany, different states also have their own little differences. Like a particular state or a particular school may require 6.5, another school may require 5.5, another may require 7. These things differ in Germany. But for German taught courses, you must have proficiency in German. Some take B1, some others B2. So it depends on the course you want to study. But even if you go above the bachelor's, masters, there are a very good number of courses taught in English in masters. But for bachelor's, there are a handful of them that are taught in English, and you can still, though if you check the requirement, there is something I was expecting someone to ask, but did not ask. If you check the requirement for schooling for bachelors in Germany, you will see that you can't come in directly with a WAEC. With your WAEC, you have to do what they call foundation year. But you can actually come into bachelor's if you have your OND or ND or even a bachelor's or even a master's, whatever. But you can't come in directly. So these things are also some of the things, because they actually feel that there are some gap you need to cover up in order for you to be able to get up to their standard. Those foundation year programs are also, some are conducted in English by individual schools. The common one, student dialogue, is done by the government, and it is also something that when you do, you can just get in. So, but above all, for those actually wanting to kind of send their kids to Germany, it's quite a very nice place. I'm not saying that because I am here. I'm saying that because over the years, I know I've done a lot of things that has to do with schooling here and persons and the rest of it. So it's quite a nice place. And it's not such a place where you begin to like ranking. I heard a lot of people talking about ranking. The truth is, in Germany, any school at all that is there and say, okay, this school is this and that, it is perfect. It is good. It is good enough. I actually bought the idea, the fact that Mr. Simon really spoke about something. He said these rankings are based on research. Even back then in Nigeria, when you check the schools in Nigeria, the rankings of the schools are based on research. So, but the system here just leaves this school at, it's true, there is still ranking, but that ranking is inconsequential to an extent when you actually, I'm talking about Germany here now. It's really it's inconsequential. What you just have to check is the place, whether there's a tuition, the opportunities around, and some other things you need to. So I hope I've answered that particular question while touching a few other things. In case you have any other one you want me to quickly, because of time, I don't want to continue talking, but in case you have any other one, you just let me know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Michael, you can ask your question now. Mr. Michael. Mr. Michael, are you there? Okay, Mr. Michael is not there. Let's, Mrs. Ugwamalam, you can ask your question.
Hello.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, thanks. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thanks. So actually, I had a question, but Ms. Omososho has addressed the question. Okay. But
I think Mr. Michael is struggling with network. Okay, let's just
just a word of advice. I think, I don't know, perhaps later I could share the link. There are a lot of free courses from Harvard Education. They've been on since January this year for about till the end of next year, for those people who are interested in computer science.
Mr. Mike, are you there? Okay, let's quickly take some of the questions on the group chats.
Yeah, I thought I was going to ask a question. Hi, everyone. This is Mrs. Obamala.
Okay, it's gone. Continue. You can ask your question, ma'am.
All right, I have two questions, basically. One is for Mr. Simon, and the other one is for Mrs. Tabitha. Okay, so Mrs. Tabitha, the first question I'd like to ask is for, if your child is already an American citizen like mine, and is there a need for these TOEFL exams that you talked about for an American citizen child, student per se? Mrs. Tabitha, can you hear me? Okay, Mr. Simon, then the next question I have for Mr. Okay, Mr. Lisa, did you hear my question?
I needed to be yes, ma. Thank you for the question. Yes. So normally for American citizens, they are not required to write TOEFL, but there are schools. I mentioned 2 schools, but there are other schools. For example, if your child is applying to Northeastern University in Massachusetts, or University of Houston, or a couple of other schools, once the child has schooled outside the US, the child will have to write the exam. And they require, like for example, Northeastern University actually requires 100 out of 120. That is not, hold on, ma. So, but now, in lieu of this TOEFL or any other exam, they now have a particular exam that their school coordinates, which I think is one of the students that wrote it, that I worked with recently that wrote it, she's going to that school whenever the borders are open. She wrote the exam in the school. I mean, you have to pay just a token, and the school will organize the exam for you. So you can do that. But the only thing I don't know is if you can transfer the credit from that one done with the school, which I think you might be able to other schools that the child will be applying to. Why I'm saying that is, even if the other schools your child is applying to don't require it, please, if the child has to apply to such a school that requires it, let them share the result, because it's going to boost the child's profile.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. Mr. Simon, yes. Sir, I also have a question for you. Hi, hello.
Hello there.
My question is, you talked about these community universities for a beginner, like my child. Okay, so this community college, can you explain? I didn't get it. You mean like the school has to be in a remote area, or like it's not in the city, or it has to be a school that is in a remote or maybe some village or something? What do you mean by the community? I didn't get that very well.
A community college is an alternative option for the first 2 years of the bachelor.
Okay.
So you can either spend all 4 years at a single university, or you could do your first 2 years, the freshman and sophomore year, at a community college, and then transfer for the final 2 years, the junior and senior years, at a university. And there are community colleges in remote areas. There are community colleges in downtown locations. So it really varies, but just to give some perspective, because, you know, as I say, with the exception of my brief introduction of community colleges, all of the focus has really been on Ivy League universities. The reality is over 50% of American students start in a community college. And one of the reasons for that is because a community college is firstly more accessible and secondly more affordable.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
And in answer to your question, I mean, regarding the fact that your child is an American citizen, perhaps negative impact, if I could say, that might apply in certain cases is that American citizens typically, if they're applying to a 4-year university, will be asked to present an SAT score, even if they're studying at a high school abroad. And in cases where international students normally would not be expected to present an SAT. But of course, on the plus side, you don't have to worry about the visa application. So, you know, there are pluses and minuses to being an American citizen.
Okay. I got that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon. Okay, very quickly, let's take some questions from the group chats. This is to Ms. Iabo. Ms. Taiba, from what level should a child start attempting SAT? Taiba, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, what was the question, sorry?
Okay, the question is for Ms. Taiba.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Ms. Tabifa, the question is, from what level should a child start attempting SAT?
Okay. Okay, so thank you for the question. So when should a child start attempting? So for me, the last one that the child will be writing will be the year before the child goes to school. So what I encourage students to do is to start the year before then. So like for your school, for example, you can work with the giver, that's the representative of education, college board in Nigeria, to see if your school can be made a center for PSAT, so that your students can participate in PSAT. The advantages of PSAT, there are twofold. Number one, it kind of does, it does like a SWOT analysis for the children. So that early, able to know their strength, know their weakness, so that as they take more exams, they're able to work on their weakness, and also strengthen the one they're very good in. That's number one. So when should they take like when they are in from late SS1, they can take. And without the serious prep classes that you paid for, they can actually use Khan Academy. They can use Khan Academy to prep. Then what you can do is that you can get there are some really very good books. So you can get the books, and the books, any child can read the book. So they can use SAT Academy and practice on their own and use that to prep for PSAT. But what if they intend to get to like if they are trying to target like the top 5% of PSAT, because that has a value. For American students, they take PSAT and they come in the top 5%. That's what has happened to some of our students. They automatically qualify for some scholarships if they are American citizens. You understand? If they are not American citizens, their profile is already out there for schools to see them. And you can see schools reaching out to them, writing them, making offers to them. I had an experience. I had a student who finished SS1. At the end of SS1, a school in, I think in Michigan or somewhere, actually offered him an admission. Ugo offered me an admission because he had nearly perfect, very high score. He scored about almost 2,000 out of 2,400 then. And they offered him an admission pending when he will finish his, pending when he will graduate from high school. So they can do right after SS1, end of SS1, the child can start prepping. And just take any of the dates, prep, get the Dukan Academy, get the college board books, and there are other good books too that the child can work with, very good study materials. So that's when. So that, and then in terms of some parents will say, oh, so how many do they expect them to say? They take as many as they want to take. In fact, very good schools that are patient will tell you, if you don't like your score, retake. When it's time for them to consider the test result, they'll take the best of each section and they add them together. It's called super scoring. Most of the schools in the US super score. It's only a few schools that will not super score. So it doesn't hurt. They practice. They can write from end of SS1.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Sorry, just to repeat quickly, most US universities would not require an SAT from a Nigerian student.
No, so can I make a comment on that? Even this cycle most of the schools do not require, they are test optional. So if they are test optional, what are they going to be looking at? They are going to be looking at the transcripts. Hold on. If they're looking at, that makes it very competitive. So for every child, that's my own advice now, this person, for every child that wants to boost his or her profile, the children should prep, and if there's opportunity for them to write the exam, they should write the exam, because it's only going to be like additional data for consideration. They're hoping to optimize the opportunities for themselves. So that's why a lot of schools are test optional, I agree, but there are still schools that are still expecting students to test if they don't have, if they are not restricted to test. We have a student from Ireland now, she can't test, so that will be held against her. But in Nigeria, the centers, there are test dates available. So if it's available, they are competing, and they are competing for money. If they can't, let them do it. After all, they're going to school. They are students. That makes them more bona fide. If they can test, let them test. So that's my own, that's personal to me. That's what I would do with my own students.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. I think Mr. Drew has something to say. So let us give him like 1 minute, just 1 minute.
Thank you so very kindly. I want to just quickly add to that. I need MEC to understand one thing, and that is when the child is seeking an admission into any of those countries, US, Canada, what do they have in mind? If that child, because Mrs. Simon mentioned that some courses or some schools taking tests are optional. I must, I want to make it emphatic. If the child is actually looking for scholarship, of which solutions platform is out for, every of this school, it's a very competitive thing. You have lots of international students coming from overboard. So for you to stand, you need those things, you need to boost your chances, your profile. So those your scores, some write excellently, and that is what we do. We know that some of those students, they try as much as possible to do self-practice, but in a way, they need, guide people who are expert and been doing this training for years. They will come on, and some have had scores like, perfect score range. Some get as high as 1460, some get 1480. I remember BC, who is in US now, this is US now, she got 1580 over 1600. So these scores are achievable. And of course, let me also make it clear that if a child is going to school abroad, for most international students, language score cannot be ruled out. So most of my co-speakers, distinguished men here and lady here, they probably have been speaking on the ground that, okay, parents have to pay. There are lots of opportunity when they write all the requisite examinations to get admissions. And of course, they are spelled out. Go to just visit Google schools, list of schools in US. It's very key. Then look at the scholarship opportunity. So no scholarship will be given, fully funded scholarship. Let me make it clear, fully funded scholarship without those examinations, please. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Joel. Thank you very much. Okay, let's just take some other questions on the group chat. Are there schools this is to Mr. Simon. Mr. Simon? Okay. Yes. Are there schools in USC or Canada that allows students studying medicine without a first degree?
Yeah, so medicine is not offered at bachelor degree level in the United States. So you would follow a pre-med route, which typically will focus on either biology or chemistry or the two. At the end of those 4 years, you then, based on your GPA and based on an additional exam called MCAT, you would then apply to medical school. But again, we need to be very clear. To do pure medicine, to become a doctor or a surgeon, it is not an easy process, and it's an expensive process. That's the reality. It's going to be 8 to 9 years in total, including med school, depending on the area of specialization. And just to give some degree of realism on this. So there are 4,800 universities and colleges in the United States. There are only 81 medical schools. Of those 81 medical schools, only 27 currently accept international students. So unless you are a child who has an American passport, and then you've got a wider range of medical schools to aim at, you only have 27 med schools to aim at after completing your bachelor. So we're really looking at top grades, GPA 4, great score on the MCAT, and even then that you're not guaranteed a place. And unfortunately, it's true in most other countries. I mean, medicine is a very, very specific major that is tough to get into. And again, it all depends on the student's background so far. I mean, in many cases, if they're sort of a B or C grade student right now, that is not a future med school student in the United States. But that does not stop us looking at alternative medical health related majors. There are plenty out there that have great job prospects. It just doesn't come maybe with the prestige of doctor in front of your name.
Thank you very much, Mr. Simon. Okay, Mr. Justin, there's a question for you here on the chat. For the Kanata Academy, how will the OSSD be run? Is it going to be running concurrently with normal school starting from grade 9, which is JSS3, I suppose, in Nigeria?
All right, thank you so much for that question. So, for schools looking forward to becoming a partner so as to be recognized or be seen as an OSSD center, it will be running concurrently. So, what is obtainable is when your school signs on to be a partner, then the students who are in grade 9, as it is right now, the teachers will then receive from Kanata Academy assistance from the ed teacher in Kanata Academy, one. They also do what we call, they undergo what we call a training. And this training is to ensure that they are able to deliver the Canadian curriculum. So some schools would like to integrate this with their national curriculum. It's acceptable, okay? And the way we go about it is they also get trained, they get the curriculum, Canadian curriculum from the Kanata Academy teacher and ed teacher. And then they can then discuss, okay, with infusing or how to integrate this into their national curriculum here. So from grade 9, they can start, okay? The teachers are aware, the teachers integrate this perfectly. Number two, I thought I mentioned this, but it's good if I have to reiterate on this. They also get, the students also get access to live tutor sessions. Okay, so it depends on the day. Like I said, when the school is ready, when MEC is ready, you have a meeting or a session with the ed teacher of Kanata, and then we can begin to discuss on when do you want to fix these live sessions. So if you practically want to have it 2 times in a week, on Monday and on Friday, it's acceptable. So on these days, the teacher in Canada comes over online, okay, on the EdTech facility or tool, and then they are able to deliver directly and expressly to these students. Basically, that's how it works. It can be integrated concurrently.
Thank you very much, Mr. Justin. I know we have a lot of questions to ask our speakers. Please, for further clarifications, we will send the email address of our speakers. We'll send it across to you, parent, please. So because of time, we'll quickly invite Mrs. Ijere to give us vote of thanks.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Good evening. We want to thank all of you, all the speakers, for such an enlightening and insightful session. Mrs. Atta, Mr. Daniel, Mr. Olufemi, Mr. Nicholas, Mr. Justin, Mr. Simon, and of course, Father John, the admin of Mater Ecclesiae College, for setting up this Zoom presentation for our students. For us as parents, we thank the technical team at Mater Ecclesiae College, and of course the organizing committee, because all of this was done on short notice to pull all these speakers. And parents, as I think you all will agree with me, we have a lot of homework to do. We've received a lot of information, and looking forward to the next steps for the school year. So we really appreciate all of the speakers, their experience, their passion. You could feel their passion within the presentation. So Father, if you could also put their information on this platform so that we can write down their numbers. So if we want to contact or email them, that would be excellent. Thank you so much. And thank you parents and students who logged on as well. I hope everyone took notes. Thank you so much again, Father John. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. Thank you for that wonderful speech. Okay, we'll take closing prayer. Closing prayer to be said by the admin of the school, Reverend Father John.
All right, we thank you once again, and we should appreciate all our speakers and our children and our parents. God will guide us and direct us in all we do. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God,
and the fellowship of the
the
Holy
fellowship
Spirit
of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore.
Amen.
Thank you, Lord, for this session. Thank you for our speakers. Thank you for our facilitators. Thank you for everyone who has joined in from different parts for this session. We pray that the information that we have gained today will be for the benefit of our children, who we continue to prepare for great endeavors in the future. May you keep them safe. Keep all of us from the evil of the coronavirus. And in no distant future, may we have cause to reunite again and continue to praise your name as you want us to achieve great things for you. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. Be with you and with your spirit. God bless you, the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you, Father. Thank you, parents. Thank you, everyone. So as regards the email address of our speakers, you will get it. Mr. Patrick will send the email address this evening, email address of all the speakers. Thanks for joining this seminar. Please stay blessed, stay safe. God bless you. Bye.
Bye.